So,
but you know what it is though? Sometimes when you're in the pharmacy, because you've got someone right next to you.
Yeah, I get it.
It's like, bro, come on, man.
I get
I can't tell you what's going on. This guy's right here.
Yeah, but they should have a separate room for you.
Do you know you're the first? I think you're the first doctor
Is
on the
it?
podcast.
All
yeah,
right, good stuff.
You're the first doctor.
Make sure I'm the only doctor.
Yeah. How do you find doing podcasts as a doctor? Because you're a doctor, but you're also, you're on TV as well.
Yeah,
So
I like it because it's like when I'm on TV, I'm also a doctor on TV, right? That's the main thing they get me on for. Whereas on podcasts, it's more kind of wider than that, isn't it? I suppose, and so you can be yourself. So like, even though on my podcast it's a medical podcast, I'm allowed to swear on it and stuff like that. And it feels more natural, more
of course.
Don't fucking try that. That's a fucking joke. Do you know what I mean?
It's nice to hear doctors speaking.
That's what I talk like at home. So
that's what I would love. If my doctor spoke and was like, come on, take some fucking supplements.
Yeah, just go for a fucking run. Go to bed earlier. What's wrong with you?
This is how we want doctors to speak.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very nervous when I meet doctors and dentists.
Really?
Especially when it's me anyway.
Yeah, when you're going to see them.
I'm very nervous.
What are you nervous about?
Because I feel like I don't want it to be the day that they tell me you're going to die. I don't want that to be the day. Like,
normally we have this, when we're telling someone they're going to die, we have this kind of approach. We call it like a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to like take them one step at a time. You're not supposed to push them down the stairs. So it's called breaking bad news.
Yeah.
And so we have this technique where you like, you just really gently ease them into it until you get to the bottom and go, yeah, you're going to die.
It's mad now because when I next go, I could go to the dentist and be like, so what do you mean? What?
Yeah, if it feels like you're being taken down one step at a time, you want to stop that conversation.
Hey, these are the steps. These are the steps. No.
Let me go back it up. It's like, in like a horror film when they open the stairs to like the cellar door.
Yes,
it's like that. That's what I've got in my head. I'm the person at the bottom, like waiting underneath.
Have you ever told someone they're going to die?
Yeah, if we get some bad news back, particularly when I used to work in hospital, that was like, and we used to tell their families and all the time. I did A&E for 2 years. Like people would come in and they'd die and then their families would arrive and you'd take them into the relatives' room and tell them they were dead. Yeah.
No, but like in the hospital, I get it though.
Yeah, but in general practice. But because it happens. You get some results back or you get something back from wherever and you have to break it to them and that the prognosis isn't good. But
real life and death.
Real life.
Have you ever told someone they got life, like they got not life, not to say, hey, you got another 60, go in. Like, have you ever told someone like, oh, by the way, you're pregnant, and they didn't know? Do you know what I mean?
Oh God, yeah, all the time. Yeah,
and they just didn't know. There's like, I don't know why I kept throwing up.
I started off on TV on this show called GPs Behind Closed Doors in 2017, and on there was a lady who came in. She came in quite a lot, but she came in and we did a pregnancy for a test because she'd come in with all these symptoms and she was quite old. I wasn't expecting her to be pregnant, but she was pregnant. So that we did. My very first patient when I qualified as a GP and I started working, my very, very first patient was a lady who said she wasn't pregnant, absolutely was adamant she wasn't pregnant, and she had tummy pain and she was in fucking labour.
Really? In labour?
Yeah, so we had to call her.
Oh my God.
She didn't deliver there. We managed to but I was shitting myself.
That is insane. She never knew.
No, because I was feeling a tummy and every so often it would just go, and I was like, this feels weird. I went, are you sure you're not pregnant? Because it feels like there's a baby in here. And she was like, no, I'm definitely not pregnant. I'm definitely, because she'd been having periods, but she'd just been having bleeds during her pregnancy.
Oh my God.
And she's quite a big girl. And then I said, do you mind if I just do a vaginal exam? So I just inspected and the cervix was like dilating and I was like, I'm just going to check how far, and she was like 4 centimeters.
Really?
Yeah,
oh my God.
I was like, right, we need help in here.
Is that a lot more common than
when I was in A&E, it would happen.
Yeah.
Not so common in general practice because they don't come to us in that much pain.
Yeah,
really.
of course.
But she'd been in pain all night and then she got the first appointment in the morning. So she just thought, well, I'll come in. Because most of it's like coming at 2:00 rather than at 8:00.
Yeah.
So they can't wait till then. So they go to A&E. But I think she just rung up and they went like, yeah, Amir's got an appointment this morning. Come now.
Oh, wow.
And she did. Yeah. So yeah, that was mental.
Oh, by the way, you got life. But
you're talking to someone practicing. Come down these stairs.
But you're a Bradford boy, innit?
I am.
Bradford boy,
yeah,
born
man,
and raised,
born and
man.
bred. Still,
Yeah,
well, I live in. I've
man.
upgraded to Leeds now.
Leeds, I like Leeds.
Leeds
though.
is good, man.
I
Leeds
do
is
like
good.
Leeds.
But I still work in Bradford, and the
Yeah.
surgery where like we used to go to as kids. So it's like,
is it?
Yeah. So all the patients
Okay.
like know. Well, they knew my dad because he was a bus driver around Bradford. They were like, "Oh, your dad used to take me here. Your dad used to take me there." And then my mum was a social worker. She's retired now, but now because they all know my mum, if they can't get an appointment, they ring her up and say, I can't get an appointment. Can you tell your son to...
Oh, sweet.
She like texts me going, Auntie so-and-so can't get an appointment. Can you see it? And I was like, fuck yeah, just tell her to come in. Seriously.
And you got 6 siblings as well.
6 sisters, yeah.
6 sisters.
Yeah.
So are you're the only boy in the family?
I'm the only boy. I've got 1 younger sister and 5 older ones.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So you then getting into medicine. What? Because especially within the
Asian community.
the Asian community,
Yeah.
and I'd say like the West African community. It's very much I've got friends who are Nigerian or Ghanaian, and it's very much drilled into them like
Be a
doctor, lawyer,
yeah,
engineer.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
totally.
Was that the same route path for you growing up?
Pretty much, yeah. So I actually wanted to be a vet. And I was, because I love animals. I just love them. And I did all my work experience at our local. I think my mum was just humoring me, and she was like, yeah, go and do it. And it's the same subjects for medicine. You have to do biology, chemistry, maths, and whatever.
Yeah.
And so I did all my work experience at this local veterinary surgery, and I had such a good time. I even catheterized a hamster.
Yeah.
Like I literally stuck a catheter in this tiny hamster.
What's a catheter? What's that?
Like, when they can't pee. Like when someone can't pee, you have to put a tube
in a
so
hamster.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like
people bring
tiny...
hamsters into the vets.
Yeah, they bring their fish in and everything.
Really?
Yeah. I tell you what,
what's going on?
Once you catheterize a hamster, you can literally throw one into a fucking human.
Don't they last for like 2 years though?
Hamsters?
Yeah.
No, they could last like 7 or 8 years.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I thought they were like a 2-3 year
like for a
thing.
kid, like a starter pet.
Yeah. I just thought they just you go pets at home and then like, I want them.
You start with this. When that's dead,
Because I'm
get
like,
a dog.
you got to have some rich parents to take your hamster to the vet.
I think they just really love the hamster.
Yeah.
I don't think they were expecting it to like have
It's
so
funny
much treatment.
because we're both part of us are like, let's let it go, man.
Yeah.
Let it go, man.
I think that's why they let me practice on it.
It's all right, man. We're getting off one of those, man. People bring their fish, their goldfish.
The fish, yeah.
That's
If it's not
insane.
eating. Obviously, I was just on work experience.
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
doing
yeah,
anything
of course,
apart
of
from
course.
just watching, really. But anyway, yeah, so I wanted to be a vet. My mum was like, yeah, go and do all this. And then it came to like applying. And I was like, right, I've got the work experience. I've done the subjects at school, so I'm going to apply to do veterinary. And I bought my like UCAS form home, and I was like, right, Mum, I'm filling this out. She's like, no, you're not going to be a vet. And I went, what do you mean? And she was like, you're applying to do medicine. I went, no, I'm not, Mum. I'm applying to do veterinary surgery. And then she said something at the time, and bearing in mind this was 1999, that felt really awful for her to say. But now, probably in hindsight, doesn't feel that bad. And I'm not sure how appropriate. It's very inappropriate. She said, Amir, once the white people kick us out of this country, nobody has pets in Pakistan. And I went, Mum, that's not going to happen. But now I'm not so sure, Mum.
Hey, listen,
She was ahead of her time.
You never know,
Yeah.
It's a bit techie right now, bro.
So hence I'm a doctor, because it's more like if I ever do get kicked out, it's more universal.
So like with you going then from veterinary, from being a vet to then into medicine.
Yeah.
Because let me get this right. It's that when you go to university, it's like 5-6 years. Like
5
it never
years.
stops, basically.
Yeah. So it's 5 years undergraduate, and then you qualify as a foundation doctor. And then you do 2 years of foundation doctor training, and then you get your full registration. So in those 2 years, you kind of rotate around different disciplines of the hospital or general practice.
They put you in different places, A&E sometimes.
Yeah. So
you might be on a ward, like, I don't know, maternity ward
I
or
did
something.
orthopedics, I did obs and gynae, I did A&E, and then I did pediatrics, and then, and care of the elderly. and then psychiatry as well. Yeah, those were, so I did that over
So
2
when you
years.
think of the time you went to university to the time you had then, does it ever finish? Does that make sense? Because I know as a doctor, you always study. There's always a conference and you need to know, because medicine changes, but is there I only ask because having gone to university, like when I was done, I'm like, this is done now.
Done. No, it doesn't really, because like you then have to choose a speciality and then you have to train in that and then do exams in that. And depending how long that is. So for general practice, after you've done your foundation years, you then have to do your GP training. And I'm a trainer now, so I train GPs. But during that time, not only do you have to do loads of assessments at work where you're observed with patients, you're observed doing examinations, and you're particularly around your communication skills, because that's key in general practice. You then have written exams. And so you have to do a knowledge-based exam, which is really tough, because I found that really hard, because in general practice, there is no kind of boundary to what you should and shouldn't know, right? Because people can come in with anything. So you have to learn so much for that exam, because one question could be about treatment for HIV, and the next thing could be, what do you do with this child with a temperature? So it's not like you're learning one speciality, you're learning everything. And there's no kind of surface level knowledge. They could ask you really specific questions about a drug interaction for this HIV patient with this hepatitis patient. And that's really quite in-depth knowledge. So you do that exam, and then you have to do a communication skills OSCE type exam where they get actors to play patients, and you have to do that whole breaking bad news or telling good news.
So you have
to
practice that.
Yeah.
Oh, I never knew that.
People find that really hard because first of all, it's weird doing it with an actor. Yeah. And secondly, real patients don't behave like the actors that they bring in. So these patients will say, I've got a sore elbow. Yeah. But patients say, I've got a sore elbow and I've got a headache and I've got this rash and I've got this pain. And also I'm really depressed and I've found it so hard to get an appointment. So I want you to deal with all of these things right now. Yeah. But that isn't what the exam is about.
What did the actors do? Are they a bit over the top?
Some of them can be, but they've got quite a rigid script. So it's like, if he asks this, then say this. But if he doesn't ask this, make sure you sound annoyed because he hasn't done this and all of this. Because we have to write the scenarios for our trainees as well. But it's really just, and for my trainees in Bradford, a lot of our patients don't speak English. Okay. And so, but that's not represented in that exam. So they could do a really beautiful consultation in Urdu or Punjabi or Hindi, or have a translator that comes in who speaks Slovakian or something like that, because a lot of our patients just don't have English as their first language, don't speak English at all. But they can converse beautifully in these other languages, and so can some of my trainees because they're from the same background. But that doesn't put them in good stead for that exam, which isn't representative of our population in our. And so like we've argued all of this with the examiners and stuff, and said, look, these are really good doctors. They are doing the exam and failing, but they're actually really good doctors. And the Royal College of General Practice just haven't found a solution to this at all. And I can understand it's difficult, but then it's an exam for middle-class white people working in middle-class white areas. That's what it's an exam for.
Because your practice is in Bradford, right?
It's in the most deprived part of Bradford. We're just surrounded by, council estates, wonderful people, but people who have a really tough life and as a result have health inequalities. And so our practice reflects that. But that isn't what that exam's about. It's can you tell someone they've got cancer? Can you tell someone whose sore elbow isn't that important, that it isn't that important? And can you tell someone these are their blood results, which are all important skills, but it isn't necessarily reflective of the multiple comorbidities and health issues and poverty and all the health inequalities and racial issues that our patients come in with.
Yeah. Can I ask you something? As a GP, right? I've been wanting to ask a doctor this, especially a GP doctor.
Yeah.
What's up with this receptionist, man? Trying to get an appointment. Let's speak about this.
Right. Let's speak about it.
I don't know when it happened, but the power that GP receptionists get when you're like, hey, can I get an appointment? That 8 a.m. It's a mad one,
Right. So I have to say that I have to stick up for my receptionists. They're not called receptionists now. They're called care navigators. Okay. And I know, first of all, because I get so much online just asking me the same
I need
question.
to know,
What
man.
is it, and they're called dragons and all of this kind of stuff. But the receptionist job or the care navigator's job is not just to answer the phone and give you an appointment. That isn't their job. That used to be their job when people could get appointments and there was, there was enough to go around for everyone. Now, a care navigator's job is to find out a little bit about what your problem is.
Yeah.
They'd rather not ask. I know it feels like they're being nosy. They would rather not ask. They don't want to know, but it's part of their job to know. And then it's to direct you to the most appropriate person.
Okay.
And that might not be a GP. The default setting for a lot of patients who ring up is, I want to see a GP. But general practice now is made up of so much more than just GPs. And it's so much better for it, because if you've got a sore shoulder and you want to see a GP, actually you're better off seeing a physiotherapist. And we've got them working in general practice. Or if you've got a period issue, let's say you're a woman saying, I'm having heavy bleeds, we might have a really good nurse practitioner who is qualified and trained in women's health, and they're better than me for seeing you. And so when they ask you, or whatever, there's loads of different options. There might be someone who's trained in pediatrics, there might be an OT, there might be an eye spec, And so GP now, even though we still call it the GPs, it's made up of so many more people. And so their job is to kind of direct you to the most appropriate person in the most appropriate time. And if there are no appointments, it's not because they are closing the door on you. It's because there's genuinely no appointments, and we're full. And that is where general practice, I think, is really struggling because of so many things. I can talk about this at length, but systemic funding problems that have been going on for years and years and years, recruitment and retention problems for GPs. All of this has resulted in, and also at the same time, our population has got older, sicker. Cost of living crisis has caused a massive mental health crisis as well. And that, people who are poorer are getting poorer, and that is having a negative effect on their health. So the demand is going up, but the resources that we have in general practice are either still the same or going down. And so the people caught in the middle are the care navigators, right? So when they get called all these names, I feel really sorry for them. I've sat in our reception area listening to some of the shit that they have to take from frustrated patients. I get it. They're frustrated patients. They're really upset and they're vulnerable. But the stuff they have to put up with, my goodness. And I know when people hear this, they'll go, yes, but, they just won't give me an appointment. And I told them this, and this. They're not withholding it from you. It's like you asking me for a bar of gold that I do not have.
Would you say it's also easier if someone has, which sounds like a common cold, to be like, come on, bro, to get some Lemsip?
I think that's really important as well. I think it's really important. And also there's the local pharmacist who is really good for that kind of stuff. You can just go there. And the pharmacists now have this scheme called Pharmacy First, where you can go there with UTIs, conjunctivitis, sore throats, and they can prescribe antibiotics for you as well. So,
but you know what it is though? Sometimes when you're in the pharmacy, because you've got someone right next to you.
Yeah, I get it.
It's like, bro, come on, man.
I get it.
I can't tell you what's going on. This guy's right here.
Yeah, but they should have a separate room for you. They don't.
No, they're so loud, man.
They don't dip your urine in front of everyone.
This is like, I want to tell you about. But then also, I think sometimes there's this, when the pharmacist asks, I'll be honest, sometimes I'm like, well, you're not a doctor, man. So then it's like, I feel like your default is to say, yeah, but
I need a doctor.
I need a doctor.
Lots of people's default is that. And that is, I understand it because historically that is what you've always got and had. But the pharmacists are now, they've got extra training to deal with these things. And they've got extra training to prescribe, and they've got extra training to examine you. So it's not like the old school pharmacists who are also brilliant, but these guys have been trained further and further so they can do these things. And they also are really well aware of their limitations of practice. So they'll know, actually, no, this is not for me. I'm going to ask, you should go and see a doctor. So they're really good for that. But I probably, if I had if I woke up tomorrow with a sore back, I don't want to see a GP. I want to see a physiotherapist.
Yeah. That literally was me last week. I was like, my back is mashed. I was like, I probably need to see a physiotherapist. But I'm also I'm quite old school. I think I don't know what it is. A part of me is just like, I could, but I don't want to go to the doctor for a bad back. Come on, let's just get some deep heat.
Yeah.
And just Yeah,
I
burn
think
it
a bit
off.
of self-care first is
Yeah.
important. Don't come to us as your first port of call.
Yeah, I'll just burn it off. So, like with where you are now in like your career where, you still have your practice in Bradford and you're on the television as well. And, you have a podcast, you've got like, a million followers on Instagram. How has life changed? Was it almost like an accident though with television in some ways?
Totally by accident. So we were just minding our own business in our practice in Bradford, which is where I'm still at. And then Channel 5 just sent an email to us and said, we're looking for a big practice up north where we can film the 6th series of GPs Behind Closed Doors. And we saw the email and we ummed and ahed about it. And within the email, they said they'd been to Manchester and Liverpool and Newcastle and looked at practices there. And I thought, well, we can't compete with those big cities. But we invited them in anyway, and they needed a big practice because most patients say no to filming. And so to get that volume of yeses, they need lots and lots of people. And we are a huge practice. And so one of our nurse practitioners, Debbie, who is brilliant, made the best lemon drizzle cake like ever. And so this guy came in, he was the producer of GPs Behind Closed Doors. He's called Jonathan. The practice called him Sexy Jonathan because the minute he came in, all the girls were like swooning over him. He was like a silver fox.
You could have an appointment.
Yeah. So he gave a big spiel about, why they want to do the show with us and stuff. And then they really liked us and they said yes. And so that's how that happened. And then I think it partly because, again, I'm from that area, I know the patients, and so that connection I have with the patients, I think is really special because I know exactly what they're going through. I grew up in the same poverty that they now live in, and I know how hard it is to pull yourself out of that poverty, especially when all the odds are stacked against you at every turn. And it isn't just a case of working hard. Opportunities are hard to come by in that situation. And to be able to do, to be able to study and have the space in your head not to be stressed so you can concentrate on your work and have a full tummy and not be hungry. And so you can, again, so children can, that's a really difficult thing for these people to provide for their families. And so I got that. And I think that connection came through. And so Channel 5 asked me to do a few other shows for them. And then I got I got an email from ITV, which I thought was a joke, to be honest. And they said, we want you to come down and see us for our daytime show. So Lorraine and Good Morning Britain was what they were offering. So I replied to that email going, yeah, whatever. I was like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. This seems like a spam email to me. And then they emailed again and said, no, it's not a spam. So I went down. And I tell you what, Mo, like I am, I went to Liverpool University. I came back to Bradford after I finished my GP training. I am not, it sounds really weird now, but that experience of coming down to London and going to what I thought at the time, and still do, it was the old BBC studios, television centre, because we've moved now. Going there, which just felt like, because I'd seen that on TV so many times, I was like, this is like a really big deal. And even like getting the tube like was a big deal at the time. So I just felt like I didn't feel like I didn't belong because they were really welcoming. I felt like a fish out of water, but they were so enthusiastic and so nice. And so I just said yes. And that was 2020 and it was February 2020. And I remember this really clearly because in March 2020, COVID happened.
Yeah.
And so the whole landscape of television medicine changed because every single day new information was coming out.
Yeah.
And between Dr. Hillary and I, we were trying to navigate this incredibly, like one day the information would be this and the next day it'd be different and different again and different again. And so I felt like I had a baptism of fire essentially into that kind of, right, Amir, you're talking about this is the latest information. You have to go to this meeting with the government, tell them what, this is what they're saying, these are what the scientists are saying, what's your opinion on it? Because it wasn't just about giving the facts, it was like, what do you think we should do? And that was really challenging. And at the same time, I was working with patients who might have COVID as well. So we set up these hubs in Bradford where GPs would see patients with potential COVID symptoms who weren't sick enough to be in hospital. So at the same time, I was navigating that, coming down to London on empty trains, and then going back up. But and the stress of all of that was also people of color like you and I were dying of COVID at a much higher rate.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot to contend with in that, particularly in that first 6 months. And I definitely made mistakes and things I would like to have done differently. But then things that was just the nature of the beast at that point in time. And then, I've settled into that whole kind of balance between doing my general practice, doing the television stuff, doing the books and the podcast. And in terms of your first question was, has my life changed? And it's busier for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting people like you that I thought I would never ever meet because I see you guys on TV.
Oh no, I'm a local lad, man.
No, I know, but to me, you're
I'm in the streets, man.
You're from the streets.
I'm in the streets, bro.
That's true. But So whereas, I still work at the same practice, I have to go and see my mum twice a week still. And all those stuff, nothing like on a grand scale has changed. But in terms of the people I see and the messages I can give out to people on a larger scale, that has changed. But I'm still at the same practice. I'm still, I like nothing. When people say, oh my God, must have such a glamorous life. No, all I do is go to work, get a train, come down to London, go back up, go to work. It's just busier.
So the workload's definitely increased.
Yeah.
But how do you then switch off from that in some ways? Because if you're not at the practice and you're maybe doing your podcast, or you're not at the podcast, you might be helping lecturing.
Yeah.
How do you, because I've been so intrigued to know how like someone in your profession switches off from it, because it must feel like even if you've got friends or family, you're a phone call away from being like, hey, my son's got this rash. Can I send you a picture? Can you,
that happens,
do you know what I mean?
That happens 3 or 4 times a day at least, which I don't mind because it's friends or family calling and you should always help them, I think. And that's my bread and butter, right? They're not asking me a challenging question. It's something I can answer.
Yeah.
What is challenging is when people stop you in the streets and say, I've got this rash.
This happens. Swear. No way.
No, right.
Say swear.
Swear. I was in a garden centre and this man came up to me in the garden centre and went, you're that doctor on TV. First of all, they all think I'm Ranj. And I'm like, no, it's not Ranj, I'm Amir.
The other Asian guy.
other Asian doctor. And he went, I find it, they go, I don't want to bother my GP with this. So do you mind if I ask you? And I was like, okay. And I would never say no if someone asked me a question. But this time I wish I had, because his rash was in his groin and he pulled down his pants and underwear, Mo, in a garden centre, moved his bits out of the way and went, what do you think this is?
That's insane.
I know.
That is insane.
I know.
What did you look at it?
Yeah, well, I felt like I was already like in too deep. So I was I took it. I said, right, pull up your pants. But at this point, one of the staff members from the garden centre said this is inappropriate behaviour and escorted us both out of the garden centre. Both of us.
Oh, come on, man.
Honestly, I was gutted. Anyway, I told him the cream to get from the pharmacist, so he was happy. But I still needed my plants.
That is, the level of confidence is crazy.
All the time. At the gym. The gym is a really common place for people to come up to me and say, blah, 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 ask me questions. Like just yesterday, this woman was actually printed off her scan results and from her app and like was showing it to me. What do I think? It happens all the time. You look so shook.
Do you know what it is? It's like, but when people, I know I'm in a totally different profession. People come up to me, hey, what's up, Mo? Love your comedy.
Yeah.
Can I get a picture? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, cool. And most of my friends who might be in the same, like, musicians, hey, like, but no one goes to musicians. They're like, I've got an idea for a song.
Sing me a song.
What do you think about this? And sometimes it does happen. It's very rare. But I don't know. There must be is there ever sometimes for you a bit like a time and place, man? Like, I know you're in a garden centre, but a part of you was like, I hear that, but I do want to look at these geraniums over there.
There is definitely a part of me that thinks that, definitely. But there's also a part of me that thinks these guys find me so accessible that they feel comfortable enough to ask me that question. And I think that's a privileged position to be in. And also, they're telling you something that is quite personal and vulnerable, even though we're in a public space. They wouldn't have that conversation with anyone else, right? So I don't want to shut it down if they feel comfortable enough to say it, and it's something that either I can say, right, get this and it'll sort it out, or no, you need to go and ask your doctor about this and this because it could be something serious. Then you never know what conversations could lead to someone's life being changed or saved, right?
Yeah.
So someone once on a train asked me about a lesion on their skin, which I thought was a melanoma. And I said, look, you've got to go and get this seen by your doctor and get a referral to a dermatologist and get it back to you. They messaged me on Instagram about 6 months later and it was a melanoma. And if I'd said to them, look, I'm off duty, who knows what could have happened to them, right?
I see.
So it's a balancing act, I suppose. I don't want to invite everyone to say, come in,
of course.
But I think you've got to be.
I guess it's
really
almost
careful.
like the honor you have of being a doctor is like, in some ways, of just like, anytime, any place, I could have the information that could save your life or improve it or make it better. Do you know what I mean?
I get it. I don't want to say it's a privilege because it is a job and I get paid to do a job and we're not doing it for free. And that's really important to say.
Yeah.
But I think these kind of questions, and also like when you come from an Asian background, whenever I go to my mum's house, there's about 6 million aunties there all lining up to ask me questions. My mum invites them round when she knows I'm coming. So I'm used to it.
Pick on the aunties, man.
Yeah. So I don't invite it, but I don't say no.
Yeah. How has social media changed for you? Because, you know, from when you started, you know, let's say university to become, you know, a doctor and learn medicine and like how you're saying it, it never really changes. But then I also come from a background where like Google came about and it was like, everyone's done it. You're like, I'm getting this little pain on my head.
Yeah.
And the next minute it tells you, you're like, right, my head's going to drop off. What?
Yes.
How is that for you? Is that a challenge? Because, you know, you have like the ChatGPTs of the world now and, you know, the AIs that can feel like it's a doctor at times that can be like, oh no, this is that. And is that making your job easier or harder?
I think just different. Because I qualified as a doctor in 2004. So, and then, you know, I've been practicing now for 22 years. So what I've seen over that time, and I think I'm of this generation, is slightly unique that you've seen the changes in real time. So initially people would bring in newspaper clippings of the newspaper says, this is the drug I should get for my arthritis. And so there's always been an element of it. It's just the platform has changed. So then it was Google and now it is almost 100% ChatGPT when people say ChatGPT told me this. A lot of the time it's wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's wrong.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's really important to say. And I'm not saying people shouldn't use these platforms because a lot of people can't get to see their GP and it's the only thing they have. But from my experience, it jumps to the worst case scenario. And I think that might be a safety feature in it. You know, just say you have to get yourself checked out because that headache could be a brain tumor. Of course it could be a brain tumor. But our job is to pick out the story and the history from you and do the examination so we can tell you why it isn't a brain tumor. And that can't do that.
Yeah.
And so it's just different. So not a lot, when people come to see me and they have looked, a lot of it is me unpicking that and pulling back from where they are at.
Yeah.
But that's no different to a consultation when they haven't done it, because often people who come in with a headache, whether they've looked online or not, are worried about a brain tumor. Or if they've got bruising, they're worried about a blood cancer or something like that. And it's important for me to ask that question, you know, what have you been worried about? Because then I can say, well, this is why I think it might be that, or this is why I don't think it's that, and reassure them. But if I never get to the bottom of what they're worried about, they'll still walk out the door still worried about that same thing and think I haven't thought about it. And so it is an important question to ask.
Because I listen, I'll be lying if I said I haven't done it. I've done it literally last week when my lower back was, and I was like, come on, ChatGPT, man. But I think because it told me what it was, I was like, okay, let's just follow this. And if it gets worse, because I think for back pain, everyone kept telling me, if you're feeling shooting pains, that's when it's real. If it's just a bit of a strain, you're okay. But I don't know. I think it's like a generational thing. But also I think time, a lot of people do value time in the sense of like, I don't want to bother the doctor and go for this thing if it's just that Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The pattern I find with that, and I'm generalizing now, but the people who don't want to bother the doctor are the ones that need to come in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that was me last week.
Yeah. Well, because that got better, right? So you didn't need to. But there's a whole cohort of patients who just put up with symptoms and think, I don't want to bother the doctor. But often if it's gone on, a general rule of thumb is if it's gone on for 2 weeks or more, and you haven't got an obvious explanation for it, you do need to come and see us.
Yeah.
But there is, particularly like older stoic people, right? They don't want to bother the doctor, and they are the people who are more likely to have something serious, but given their age and the fact that, it might have been going on for a while. Whereas it's important to say most things will resolve on their own, and you should give some things time, like colds, like, back pain that is just kind of just in your back, and you're young. Older people with new back pain should come and see us. Older people with new headaches should come and see us. But there's so many, but you wouldn't know that because you haven't been to medical school, right? And so that's the thing.
In terms of people that come and see you, is it younger or older? Or has it changed? Do you know what I mean? Because is it more like you get more older people who are like, I don't have much time and I really want to value my time, so I do want to go to the doctor to get this thing checked? Or are you seeing like younger people that's like, I'm not bothered, but it's actually quite serious? Because I only asked because when I was quite young, I rarely ever went to the doctor, and then when I did, I was like, oh, this is quite serious.
Yeah. I think it's a mix. When you do general practice, there is not one type of people who will come and see you, and that's the beauty of general practice. That's why we do it, right? Because we like the variety. Things have changed slightly recently because most GP surgeries now triage everything. So you have to do it online. And ours is no different. So people put in a request online, and then there's a doctor or more than one doctor who's going through everything. And so we can prioritize things. And often older people will get priority because they're more likely to be ill. They're more likely to get sick quicker from illnesses, or they have other health conditions that makes them vulnerable.
Yeah.
So they will get... So now that we're triaging, the people who are higher risk, we tend to see more of. But also children, any child with a temperature, and we will see. But that's changed now. But I think before there was a lot of things that probably didn't need to come and see us coming in. But I think this triage system has changed that now.
With your podcast as well, and you have the doctor will see you now, and it's really interesting to know what a mind of a doctor is like as well, because I think sometimes we, as patients, can sometimes be like, well, I'm all right, I'm sorted now, and take care. And it's only until, some doctors I've spoken to, and you hear a lot more accounts now of, the strain that some doctors are going through, especially I think when the pandemic happened and COVID was happening, and you was hearing accounts from doctors and what they were going through. How is it important for you to be the doctor that is someone who's talking about the highs and lows, but also having other doctors that can connect with that? Because sometimes I feel like the patients can forget that you are people too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Very much so. So I found that really hard to begin with. It's hard to be... What I found hard was the balance between being an accessible GP that people find friendly and want you to be their GP and feel like they can ask you questions, even though they can't really ask me questions, but I feel, that's the vibe I want to get. But also at the same time, you don't want GPs to look at you and think, well, that's not what a real GP's like. That's not what life is like for us.
Yeah.
And I did get some stick from GPs for being too friendly. I'll be honest with you, being too friendly, being too accessible. And I kind of reflected on it and thought, well, am I doing anything that I don't do in my normal work? And I wasn't really. So I just thought, well, perhaps that I'm not quite like them, but I'm like me, and this is what I do and whatnot. And when they, I got so much positive comments and feedback from GPs behind closed doors and my interaction with patients. But at the same time, there were some people who felt like I wasn't giving a realistic view of what general practice was like, even though they were filming real consultations. They were like, that's too friendly. You've gone too far with managing that patient. We won't be able to do that in real life. But that was real life. And they were real consultations with real patients. And I found that a real kind of sticking point. And I was like, well, what am I doing differently? But then I thought, fuck it. I am a nice guy. I like to look after my patients, and I like, if I go the extra mile. So I don't care if that's not you. You do you. This is who I am.
Yeah, of course.
And so I thought, why am I going to become less friendly? Let's sod that. So in the end, I just thought, and I think it's taken me time to get to a place like I am who I am. Yeah, I like to dance. Yeah, I like to bake. Yeah, I also go into work and do my GP stuff, and I have a laugh with my mother. And I am, I do all of those things. And my social media isn't just about giving medical advice. It's also who I am.
Yeah.
And I think I'm hoping that's why people connect with it.
But that also makes sense why people in the garden centre can feel like they can connect with you because, one thing I've always noticed with social media is if you're very front facing and, let's say you're on television, but you also show what goes on behind the scenes on your story, people feel like they know you. And I guess for you as well, they must feel like they know you and you're a doctor too.
Yeah.
So they must then seize the opportunity to then say, well, I'm on the tube. He seems like he's all right. Listen, bro, like I've got this thing on my arm.
Fine.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I guess people will connect with you in a garden centre, and like you're saying, they'd be like, "Here, mate, do you want to see some real tulips? I'll show you right there." Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's I guess that's why you have that connection with people.
And how special is that, right? But I also understand why some people wouldn't want that for themselves. I get that as well.
Yeah.
But I can't represent everyone. I can only represent myself, right?
Yeah. Your switch off from, medicine is you're into like a lot of wildlife.
Yeah.
And I know you're saying you go to the garden centres. How important is that for you in your mental health and a way to, because for me, I don't watch a lot of comedy. Even though I'm a comedian, I don't watch a lot of stand-up when I'm at home. It's probably the last thing I'd probably want to watch on my list. I watch wildlife, I watch documentaries, I watch sometimes really silly stuff that no one would be like, why are you watching that? And I'm like, I just think this is real. There's a guy who, whenever I'm down, he does this thing where he goes into Central Park in America and he just farts. He farts. I think it's so funny. I keep telling everyone about this guy, but I can watch it for 15 minutes and it makes me so happy.
Yeah.
And then he does, there's this really, I got to show it to you. I know we're going off topic, but he went up to this dog and he's just farting on people's dogs. And he was like, yeah, they kind of, but he's not farting for real. He's got like a little machine and stuff. I think it's so funny. But that is the silly stuff that I like.
Love it.
And as a comic, you get this like, so, you're into like this and what was that like? And I'm like, but I'm someone that's on the stage. I connect with comedy in a different way. So what is that like for you when you get to watch like, your wildlife programs or like gardening and stuff?
Yeah, that's my main switch off. I certainly, like you, with you not watching comedy, I would never watch an episode of ER or anything like that. Just never. Because I imagine you're very critical of other comics or like going, oh, I wish I'd done that, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yes. 100%.
Yeah, whereas, because I watch this show and go, that's fucking shite. That is just chatting shit. Like, that was like, it's just that. And I'm like, that would never fucking happen. And like everyone shagging everyone on those shows. That does not happen. Trust me. Doesn't happen. I've tried.
You know what? I like you. You know what's mad, yeah? When I was young, I thought casualty was real. Yeah. To the point where...
So did I. That's why I got into medicine.
Do you know what's mad, though? I thought it was so real that I was watching it just like, these lot are real doctors. This is a real... And we're actually watching someone who just got in a car crash. And still I got older, I was like, no, this is actually a soap. Like I knew EastEnders was a soap, but casualty, I was like, this is real, man. This is real.
Because what I find really weird about them, and I'll come on to the nature stuff, but like they will be like performing life-saving, like really dramatic things on a patient. But at the same time, they're all like side-eyeing each other and like thinking about, I'm having an affair with him and like, talk, like I think that doesn't happen.
And the man's got his heart out.
Yeah. And honestly, the drama in those hospitals, like that's not how it is, man. It's not. So I don't watch those shows, but nature is a huge kind of break from everything for me and for so many people, right? You watch those wildlife documentaries and running. So I try and combine the two. So I go for a run in nature before work every morning. So I'm up at 5 o'clock.
Wow.
I go for a 5 or 10K run, depending on the day. And the purpose of that run is to get into the woods, listen to the birds, watch the sunrise. If it's this time of year, watch the ducklings and the cygnets that are all out. If I can hear a woodpecker, if I can hear a red kite, I've had the time of my life. And I'll come back and I'm reinvigorated. It's early in the morning. If it's in the wintertime, because of where I live, I'm very lucky. We'll see owls out and things. And so it's such a wonderful experience. And I love it so much that I've looked at the science behind the healing effects of nature, and it is just so compelling. And it's part of what I talk to my patients about now as well, alongside traditional medicine and the medication. It's like, there's so much healing to be had in nature. And during COVID, it was a huge help to me. And now, like when I'm out there, like this morning, I went out and I ran to the lake. I just stopped and watched a couple of parent swans with their 8 cygnets, which is so impressive. Just dipping their heads in and out of the water and listening to the sounds that they make. And the cygnets were making little squeaking noises. The sound of the water as the adults dip their head in and out. It was just so wonderful. And then I just walked a little bit further and there was a kestrel hunting, and that just makes me feel incredible. And so I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah.
And I talk about it. I talk about the evidence behind nature healing and why we should all be spending at least 2 hours in nature a week for our mental and physical health. How? I mean, Mo, this is like incredible, right? You go for a walk in the woods. You're just walking, you're listening, you're breathing. Those plants, those trees, everything around you is giving off chemicals called phytocides that they make themselves to ward off pests and things that might want to eat them or infect them. They make loads of it. It's like their immune system, but they make so much of it, they release it out into the atmosphere. You breathe it in, it triggers your immune system to make something called killer cells, which help you then fight off viruses. It's incredible.
Really?
Yeah. That's how amazing it is. Yeah. And they're looking at those same phytocides in Japan to see if they can help fight off cancer cells.
And that's just walking in the forest and in the park and stuff.
Yeah, just breathing. That's all it is. Yeah. So when you listen to birdsong, and you feel nice, don't you, when you listen to birdsong? And the idea behind that is, when we were hunter-gatherer tribes and we were nomadic, going from area to area to settle to look for food and all of this kind of stuff, one of the things we used to listen out for was birdsong, because when there was plenty of birdsong around, it meant that there was probably berries and nuts and seeds around, but also less predators. So it was a comforting sound to make you think, actually, yeah, I can settle here. So that's why it makes us feel good. Yeah. It's incredible, right?
That makes a lot of sense, because there's times where when I used to have a dog, I'd go through the forest and I'd be like, bro, this is it. Yeah. Like, I think whenever you have a dog and you walk through like a forest or through fields, that is,
the
it
best
feels like
feeling
time
in the world,
stops.
right?
Yeah. Going for a walk. Do you know what? As I got older, because I always used to see a lot of old people and they'd go for a walk. And I was like, but it's only until now where like I go for walks and I'm like, oh, this is it.
Yes.
In life. Yeah. Going for a walk is one of the best things ever. And I think I realized it more because I spend a lot of time by myself being a stand-up, especially on tour. But going for those walks, and whether you put in music, different scenery, but just, the walking. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know how much walking uphill burns though.
Oh my God.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
My doctor told me this. Because I was doing 5Ks every day. And I was like, bro, I'm doing these 5Ks every day. And I don't know, man. And he was just like, you're better off walking up a hill.
For fitness, yeah.
And you'll probably burn off. And then I done it up. Listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was real.
It's true.
It was real.
And that dog walking analogy you just gave, again, is rooted in science. Because I always think it's important for people, yes, we should tell them they should do it, but we also need to understand why you get those benefits, right? So when you're walking your dog, first of all, the connection between you and your dog makes you make a hormone called oxytocin, which is like the love hormone, and it connects you to the dog. It's the same hormone mums make when they're with their baby. It's the same hormone if you're playing a team sport that connects you to other team players. So you're connected to your dog. But when you're out in nature, first of all, you're getting all those health benefits from walking, but also in your brain, your serotonin and dopamine, which are your happy, relaxing brain chemicals, go up when you're outside. And so you feel that relaxing, calming effect. When you're out in natural light, one of the best things people can do is first thing in the morning or early in the morning is get out into some natural light, because it resets your circadian rhythm, which is your internal body clock. It helps with your metabolism. It helps with your sleep cycle. It helps with so many things. It's just going outside in the morning.
And how long should we be spending outside in the morning?
8 to 10 minutes. That's
Really?
all it takes. That's
I thought it was like an hour or so.
No, if you just need that light to hit the back of your eyes, get everything, all your juices flowing. That is it. It's so easy to do.
Yeah.
But because we're all so busy, we don't do it. And so we miss out on that amazing thing.
Yeah, it's funny because my dad, he would wake up and he'd look at the sun, like, because when he's in St. Lucia, and he'd look like straight at the sun just before it's fully up, and he'd do it for about 10 minutes, and he'd be like every morning I'd look at the sun.
Your dad knows, man.
But now I think he's got glaucoma now,
Does
so
he?
I don't know
Not
if it's
from the sun, though.
I think it might be,
No, glaucoma's raised pressure in the back of the eye. That is not from the sun. I mean, we're not advising people to look directly at the sun.
I think he has, I can't lie, bro.
No, with morning light. Go out.
He can't find nothing without his glasses, man. I'm looking at the sun, bro.
No, but the rising sun is safe to look at, I think. It doesn't give you glaucoma.
It doesn't, no?
No,
All right, fair enough. I can't lie. I was like, you got some looking at the sun,
No.
Where you are in terms of like now in your career, as you get towards, like later on with an adult life, even though you're still very young and stuff, like, you've won awards like GP Trainer of the Year and stuff. And, what do you tell like, young doctors who are struggling with the realities of, the dream of medicine? Because, it's such a long career. Yeah. And at any point you can get to a place like, if you're studying it, and it doesn't really end in terms of the studying, but it's also, I guess, the pressures that must come from family as well, And I feel like in some ways you're that cool vibey doctor. Do you know what I mean? You're the one where it's like, oh, if I had a doctor I could speak to, be someone like yourself.
Yeah. And that's what the patients see and that's what the public see. But yeah, I'm glad I'm looked at as a cool vibey doctor, but I am logged into work most evenings. I am filing my blood results and doing all my hospital letters and all my referrals. Saturday and Sunday. There isn't a day, even when I'm on leave, that I'm not logged into work for an hour just to make sure, blood results are urgent, hospital letters don't need actioning, all of these things. I haven't got an urgent message from someone that needs sorting out now. So, those things are very real. Every evening, every weekend, I am working on my patients. And so what I would say to young people now, so my advice has definitely changed. Again, in 2004, 1999, when I went to university, 2004, I would say, yeah, do medicine. It's great. It's fabulous. Now, my advice is make sure you do medicine for the right reasons. Because if you go into it for the wrong reasons, for the prestige, if you think there's money in it, no, then you are going to really struggle. Because if you're not there for the right reasons, and the right reason is to help patients or to progress science in some way, because you can study medicine and go down a different route and teach or do research. But my main aim is to make sure that patients who come and see me get a good experience every single time. And that doesn't mean they're leaving with a prescription or leaving with what they wanted to. It just means make sure that they've go out with a better understanding of their health condition. And that could be a prescription. It could just be a conversation or a referral or a test or something. So go in for the right reasons. Understand it is hard. There is a lot of admin, I can't tell you how much admin there is. Each patient contact you have generates lots of admin. So if you're seeing 30 patients a day, that is a lot of admin that all builds up.
Yeah, sure.
And that you don't get time to do in your working day. You generally have to do that in your own time. But what I would say to my trainees though is the core of it is still the same as it was 25 years ago, which is when you have a good consultation with a patient, and you've really listened to them and they feel listened to and they feel understood and you've really understood where they're coming from and they leave that room happy, you get as much buzz from that as they do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen in every consultation. That is 100% true, because sometimes there's conflict in consultations where your agendas don't match up and their expectations may not be realistic. And that is becoming increasingly so with wait times in the NHS and referral processes. But when that does happen, you do feel amazing. You feel amazing. And that alone is worth it.
Yeah. And I guess with being a doctor, it never stops. But do you feel like you're going to get to a point where you're like, I want to enjoy nature a bit more? And do you look towards that? At that point, is there a goal to say, you know, well, once I maybe meet 65, I might be out of this thing.
Oh my God, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
65 for sure.
Yeah.
I'm planning to retire like everyone else. I don't know if I'll go till 65, because medicine is changing and the pressures of it are really real. And as much as I get the joy of seeing patients, it is becoming those consultations where you can really use the resources of the NHS, get things done in a timely fashion, make sure your patient gets the right care that they need at the time they need it. You are constantly fighting an uphill battle against restrictions within the NHS, restrictions within social care, a background of a cost of living crisis that is making your patients iller. You're caught in the middle of all of that, the mental health crisis. You are the person that most people will come to if they can't, if they can't get hold of social services and they I might get called at 5 p.m. on a Friday by a patient who says, I can't look after my husband with dementia anymore. You need to sort this out. And that's a social worker's job, right? He needs to go into care, but social services aren't able to deal with it. So it's up to you to sort that out. And, and that's becoming more and more frequent. I'm having a mental health crisis and the crisis team aren't available to sort this out. You have to sort it out. I don't want to wait 24 hours in A&E with this problem. You sort it out.
Yeah.
And so that is becoming increasingly frequent and puts not, you still have to do it, but it puts so much stress on you. And sometimes you worry that the additional stress means that you can't give your best to every single patient. And that is, because the patient who comes in doesn't care about the patient before, right? They are there for their 10 or 15 minutes and they want the best of you. They don't care that you've had a terrible consultation beforehand. They don't care your car broke down, It's not that they don't care. It's not their problem, right? And it shouldn't be their problem. And so it's really hard to reset every 10 or 15 minutes from an emotional point of view, from a stress point of view, and give 100%. 30 times a day. And that is draining. It's really draining. And that's the reality of it. But I think, I don't think I can go to 65. I don't think that's fair on me or my patients either. I think there's got to be a realistic time where I say, right, okay, I haven't got the reserve to deal with this as much as I used to. And either I wind down or I retire.
And what does retirement look like for someone like yourself who is a doctor? Is it connecting with nature? Is it getting to do the things you didn't also get to do? Because, as a doctor, you're probably on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So is there dreams of retirement of like, do you know what? I want to go sailing. I just want to, I want to do a Route 66.
Yeah.
Is it some of those things? Because
I don't think they'll let me in America. I'm a Muslim Asian guy. Route 66 is off limits to me. You feed in immigration in the US as a Muslim? No, thank you.
It's not a joke. I'm not even going to lie to you.
I'm going to do the Silk Route.
They're at their place.
That's safer for me.
I know as soon as Route 66 is like, come on, bro, come on. No. Do I look like the person who does Route 66?
I can't even get through JFK Airport, man, without a PR exam.
You looked at me like, come on, man. Us Asians and blacks don't do Route 66. No.
The last time I went to the US, as I know it's off piece, it was years ago. And I swore I'd never go back again. It was New York. I think it was 2006 or 7. And the immigration was so awful to me. I was there with a group of non-Muslim, non-Asian people, white people.
Yeah.
They sail through. I got sent off, put in a room for hours. I had a rectal examination.
Really?
Yeah. I wasn't even staying there. I was only transiting to get to Belize.
Swear.
I swear. And it was all, and they just kept asking me, what do your family do in Pakistan? What do you, I was like, I hadn't seen them for years. I couldn't tell you what their jobs were, let alone anything else. And so I've never gone back to the US.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. There's no Route 66.
There is no route. There's only one route.
That makes a lot of sense now, boy. Like, fair enough.
But no, I think retirement for me is definitely gardening, in the garden all the time, wildlife gardening, making sure my pond is perfect for my frogs, making sure my birds are fed, making sure my hedgehogs are fed.
You've got hedgehogs?
I've got a family of hedgehogs,
really?
dude. Oh my God. Right. So many people say to me they've never seen a real hedgehog in real life. Are you one of them, Mo?
I've seen a hedgehog in real life. I don't know when though, but I've definitely seen one. But I don't know how many times I've seen one in the wild. Just do you know what I mean?
So we feed them. So we put out kitten biscuits for them, and there's like 3 or 4 that come huge. They're huge because we feed them so big. They're like monsters now. And they have babies, and they bring their babies in the summer.
Oh wow!
Like 8:30 p.m. like clockwork, they will come out, and they don't mind that we're there either because I think they're so used to our smell. They're brilliant. They're amazing. They're messy. They shit everywhere, but they're great.
Yeah.
And then the foxes come, and we got badgers as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like Narnia, man, in our garden.
Yeah. I like animals, but I'm also like I like to give animals their space. Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I want to be in there.
Do you know? It's mad because sometimes in my garden I get a woodpecker that comes in every now and then.
Nice.
And it was at first it was fun, and I was like, oh, look at the woodpecker, but the holes this thing was leaving in the garden floor.
Yes.
I said, bro, you need to chill out, man. Like I tried to get one of those seed things.
But it's a green woodpecker that goes on the ground, right?
Yes.
Is it? So that won't be that. That's interested in the bugs and things
so it was just leaving these massive holes. I said, oh, bro, you're mashing up the lawn, man. Well, now to be fair, now I just don't really care, innit? But I like nature, but I'm also like I'll see it over there.
Yeah.
Because even I live next to a forest, basically.
Nice, yeah.
So I started getting I got this light for the garden, just like a porch light. I started getting hornets last year.
Oh,
yeah, but it's because I'm next to the forest, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, man.
No, that is scary.
Listen,
I draw the line at hornets.
Listen, when that light came on and all I heard was, ooh, and I was like, what's that? Oh. And it was a hornet. I said, yeah, I'm
Turn
okay
the light
with nature.
Off.
I'm okay with nature. But because we have the forest at the back, we have good deers, for example.
Beautiful.
So seeing those, really, really fun and stuff. But I do like nature, but I'm very much like,
yeah,
I like it over there.
Fair. So nature and traveling. I like to travel, and so I used to before I got so busy was do periods of volunteering abroad. So I worked in Malawi, in Mozambique, and then over in India. Did some amazing volunteer work out there as a doctor. And I might just keep my registration to do that because it felt like going back to the real kind of medicine that you want to do. And I thought that was brilliant. I really enjoyed that. So I think probably going back to doing a bit of that as well.
Oh man, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the pod, man.
Oh mate, I've loved it.
One of like answering my some of my questions I've always wanted to know.
Be nice to receptionists.
Yeah, I just really wanted to know that. But it's such a pleasure what you do because you're like a real life superhero.
No,
do you know what I mean?
I'm not.
No,
I get paid to do that job.
No, but you do. But it's like the fact that someone can be next to you on a train or garden center, and you're like, oh, I'll do that because 9 times out of 10. We all wish we had the confidence to do that to a doctor and say, hey, I'm scared enough just going to the practice and doing that, let alone doing it on the train. But, doctors, I always believe, are real life superheroes. And, with what we have here in the UK, we're very, very blessed to have things like the NHS. It's only until, I go abroad and I'm like, oh, wow, this is so, like America, we was talking about America and stuff. And, and I'm hearing what it costs. Just like, if you get knocked down by a car, it's probably more expensive for you to go to the hospital. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Even insulin for diabetes. It's terribly expensive out there.
And it's really it's such a pleasure of what you do. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Telling someone, I can't imagine what it's like to tell someone that, they don't have a lot of time left, but I can't imagine the joys it must bring to say, to a couple who have been trying to be like, by the way, you're going to have a baby.
Yeah.
And it's such a, yes, you get paid for it, but the fact that like, I don't know, there's something I've always had this deep appreciation for, you know, the doctors that we have, especially in this country, of the NHS service and the strain that they're on. And look, the fact that, you know, you've got your practice in Bradford, that's where you're from, and you're still part of your community, and someone that's on TV that they're like, oh, like, this is our doctor. And I can't imagine the conversations that, you know, you've had where people are like, oh, like, come do a practice here and we'll do it in this place and it'll be private and stuff. But
so many.
Yeah, I could imagine. So the fact that, you know, you're saying like, boom, nah, like there's the people in Bradford that don't get, you know, access like this, and I'm their point of call, which is, yeah, man, that's, for me, you guys will always be superheroes as well. Do you know what I mean? Dentists too.
Dentists
as well.
too.
Big up my dentist payment. That's my guy, innit? Do you know what I mean?
My sister's a dentist, so
Oh, is it?
Big up dentist.
Yeah, I got a lot of time for dentists still. Big up, that's still got his teeth, bro.
Yeah. But listen, though, take my number. You can call me for your medical problems.
I'll be there in Bradford.
Seriously.
100%, man.
Call me. Everyone else does.
Say less,
Lorraine's
man.
always
Hey,
on the phone.
don't say that, you know. I'll call you tonight, bro. But it's been a pleasure to have you on my podcast, my friend.
Pleasure's mine, man.
And this has been your beginning, middle, and end. So thank you so much, Dr. Amir Khan. We appreciate you, man.
Hey, what's up? Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. Now, a lot goes into making each episode. I know you hear my voice, but there's a team behind the scenes who help make it. And if you did enjoy it, I'd really, really appreciate it if you could show the love to them by giving us 5 stars. And if you also have the time, please leave us a review. It's always appreciated, and we love reading the comments. And of course, we want to keep making it better. Thank you for listening, and have a great day. Peace.